don't say, born to play. Every day don't say. Hello.
Good evening, I'm Lou Goldstein, and welcome to another edition of Focus On. Tonight we continue our conversations with Fred Heyman, Holocaust survivor. This is part 3 in our series of interviews, and we'll be covering the end of the war, all the way through Fred's immigration to the United States and his education in the United States, his service in the 485th Infantry Division in Korea, and his studying at University of Wisconsin and working for AT&T. So Fred, I know that we were just talking a little bit about near the end of the war. I know we were getting close to it, but let's talk a little bit about the Rosenstrasse incident and how you were nearly arrested by the Gestapo.
Okay. Rosenstrasse was in 1943. It was a Saturday morning. I wake up. Mom is in the kitchen and she's making a sandwich. She's making a liverwurst sandwich. I said, Mom, what are you doing? She says, Dad was arrested. Dad was at work, mandatory labor, and on a Saturday they had to work 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. Right. He's at work and he was arrested. And Mom says, I'm making sandwiches to bring him the food because he's not going to be fed there. Okay. So I said, Mom, how do you know where he is? She says, I know. Well, I'm sure that one of her sisters, somebody told her. We were not allowed to have a telephone either. We had no radio. Okay. Mom and I left the apartment and took the city elevated train to the site, walked a little bit, and it ended up on a street called the Rosenstrasse. In 1943, Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister of Germany, wants to give Adolf Hitler's birthday a birthday gift. Adolf Hitler's birthday was in April.
Whatever.
Well, was April. My birthday was April 25th, April 20th. Okay. He arrests all the remaining Jews in Berlin, especially the ones for the first time, the intermarried Jews. Right. You could end up in Auschwitz being intermarried by just crossing the street wrong. Okay. My father's in that building, and other mothers went to Rosenstrasse, stood in front of that building, says, give us back our husbands, our sons, that sort of thing. Other German women came out in force and says, this is wrong what the governments do. We love our husbands and they love their husbands, me, my mothers and others. Right. So they came out and they called it the Frauenprotest, women's protest. In other words, the factory action, because all the Jews were arrested at factory. Okay, well, was a big deal there, and the Gestapo in uniform is the SS. That's the military unit. Okay, they would come down the street. With guys on a truck and a machine gun or something and shoot in the air. Can you imagine a young kid seeing that? I think I stained my shorts that day, right?
I'm sure. You're only 14 years old.
Okay. Well, we were all dispersed, and then they come right back. Well, Mom and I went home. The building superintendent comes out. We go through a passageway from the street through the courtyard to our apartment. It comes out of his apartment, and the passageway is this apartment is right off the passageway. Says, Mrs. Heyman, while we are gone, the Gestapo was here to pick up your son, me. Mom says, son, you have to go to bed. And Fred is now a teenager. Says, Mom, I'm not tired. I don't want to go to bed. Shut up, you go to bed. I went to bed. And she said, before anybody says anything, ask you a question, tell them that you're sick, you're running a fever. Mom, I'm not sick. You tell them that you have a fever. 20 minutes later, I'm in bed. I hear the doorbell ringing. I hear two Gestapo agents talking to my mom, and my mom is devastated and tell them that I'm sick in bed. Two guys walk in, so help me God, walk into the bedroom, and I even know where I slept. I slept in my parents' bedroom. I slept on a couch against the wall. My parents slept in a double bed. Okay, I slept on my father's side in bed. That's all clear. I'm on that subject. Two guys come in, and one guy puts his hand on my forehead and says, "This Jew is sick. We'll pick him up later." The Nuremberg law says if a Jew is arrested and has any sort of disease, bring him to the Jewish hospital and will be taken care of there, okay? Now, I think all along in my presentation, I see a reflection, a lot of things that happened to me that the higher authority watched over me. It's either an angel or it's my God or something like that, okay? It's just remarkable what happened.
Right.
These two guys were instructed by their civilian clothing, okay, to pick me up. But if I have running a temperature, I probably have some disease. You don't want to put person with that as an infection could spread it, put them on the train to Auschwitz, okay?
Right.
That's the thought behind it. It was late afternoon, early evening when they came to pick me up. The guys probably wanted to go home. I probably was the last pickup. I do not know if they reported that to their boss, the SS boss, or what happened. Nobody ever came, okay? So I feel blessed that that never happened.
Right.
And that helped us, and later on we totally went underground. We were bombed out in Berlin, lost everything. We lost the address, and we never registered. The Gestapo did not know where we were. Okay, otherwise we would have been picked up. So that's Rosenstrasse. Real fast forward, the final days of Berlin come. Hitler's still winning the war. Guys 14 years old are getting an anti-tank weapon to defend Berlin, and guys 70 years old get a tank weapon, to Panzerfaust. Tank fist, they call them.
Right.
Okay. We now go back, and that area shelter was bombed out because it had bunk beds in there. There was water there. We had no food. I celebrated my 16th birthday on April 25th, 1945, and the Russians coming closer and closer. The police president of the police says all civilians still here in the city must go underground to save themselves.
Right.
So we go in this shelter, okay, and nobody knows we're Jewish for that matter. All of a sudden, there's a loud explosion, and no electricity, no running water. You couldn't wash, you couldn't bathe, nothing. Loud explosion over there someplace in the room, and what troops do when they go house to house and they hear a noise, they throw in either a flamethrower or a hand grenade to disperse people. So there's a big bang there and a big flash, and yeah, the Russians come into our shelter. They came in there and lined us up. They come with huge spotlights like that, light up there, and we were kind of all blinded by that. We all stand there with our arms up like this, okay?
Right.
And one guy with an AK-47 type of weapon across his chest comes to me and takes this wristwatch that I just got few days before for my 16th birthday. He says, okay, the war is over. It took me 16 years to get this watch. I'll get another one of these days, okay? That's my thinking.
Right.
Okay. There's the the troops in it's like a squad of men, like 9 guys with weapons and an officer. Okay, I say to the officer in German, "Ich bin ein Jude. I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew." He answers me in German. So he says, "No, you're not. Hitler killed all the Jews." The Russians saw all the concentration camps coming in. There's no possibility that any Jews are still alive in Berlin. Okay.
Right.
So I couldn't convince me. I could have been one away from the military. I could have been anything. Okay, so for them,
Right.
I'm an enemy. All right. So next day, the second platoon comes in, also against wristwatches. Take all the men out on the street, line them up. Says we want a wristwatch, or we're going to shoot you. I'm not really a wise guy. So yeah, they're going to shoot us. They meant it. They meant it. On the day of my liberation, I could have gotten shot. Why didn't I get shot? To tell you the story. That's why. Okay? So that was my liberation. And from that point on, we started looking for food first. My father was a bakery helper when he had a mandatory job. And he says he's going to... He and I would go there and see me. The baker had some bread, have something to eat. So we walked there, but to this baker was a long walk, had to cross a canal or a river in Berlin, and the bridge was bombed up, just a couple of girders over, and you would single line go across. But each side was guarded by a Russian soldier. So now we had to sit down and wait until our turn was crossing, and the soldier looks at my shoes. The only thing I had on there was really anything worthwhile was a pair of boots I had. And he points at me, he said, "Come with me, come here." I don't know what he wants. I go with them, and he says, "Sit down," and I sit down. He points my shoes. I don't know what he wants. He wanted my boots. I took my boots off. He gave me his boots, full of holes, and then he wanted my boots, okay? That happened. But finally, we walked away from Berlin. Berlin was divided into 4 sectors: the Russian, the British, the French, and who am I missing here? England, British, French, and that's 3. It's 4.
Right.
4 sectors.
United States.
It'll come to me, okay? We were in the American sector.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while before the Allies were allowed to come into Berlin, before Stalin would let them in. So they came in 7 months later. Now slowly we got some food. The Allies brought food in and that sort of thing. My father went to a military embassy in Berlin, American embassy, and applied for coming to the United States. We sat there from 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night in that embassy, had total physical examination, interrogation, and what have you, but we were granted immigration to the United States on the Displaced Persons Act. Okay? We're going forward. So this is 3rd session, right?
Yes, this is final. This is it. Yep.
Yeah, okay. We're now going forward. My mom would stand in line once a week in front of the bakery. The baker would get 1,000 pounds of flour from the Allies, and he would break so many loaves of bread, and he would cut them in half, and each family gets a half a loaf of bread. Okay. So my mother, they would stand in line from morning on till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So mother befriended a person, and she now tells what happened, that we're going to immigrate to the United States. Oh, we just got a new friend. We all went through, and there wasn't a German national type of thing. We all went through hard times. Now I'm losing a friend. If you're going to America, could you do me a favor? I got a sister living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Maybe on a Saturday or Sunday, you could go and visit her and tell her that you knew me. Yeah, so much you know about America, right?
Right.
Yes.
So you went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Milwaukee, okay. We boarded a ship in January 1947. We went to Bremerhaven from Berlin to East Germany, out of Berlin on a military train. through East Germany, then to West Germany, and got Bremerhaven on a DP camp until a ship came in. We boarded the ship, and that was an experience. The women all had what used to be a troop ship, or the officers' cabins, okay, and the men all had down below, they had bunk beds, okay, when the men slept, we slept downstairs. I ate the first time in my life a grapefruit.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, this is horrible. It's so sour, so you had to put sugar on it. Then I loved grapefruit, okay, for breakfast. We came to New York, Eastover in New York, and disembarked, and a Jewish organization, a service organization, they're still in existence today, would provide everything. They would provide health care right away, a one-time clothing allowance, would find it as an apartment, would find my father a job, that sort of thing. Was great, okay? Right. We ended up in 103rd and 102nd and Broadway, Hotel Marseille. Nice area. In 1947, January was one of these winters that New York never ever got again. They had no snow plows, hand shoveled sidewalks, okay? The only thing running in the city was like a nor'easter. The only thing running city was the subway, okay?
Okay.
I stayed in a hotel at Piers Myers, and we would walk from 102nd and Broadway down to Times Square. Okay, we always walk down the street, and one guy said, okay, on that corner there, 76th and Broadway, let's all stand and look up. Why? And just look up. Just wait. See, if you do, everybody else stands and looks up. That's exactly what you're still kids, right?
Right.
Times Square in those days were honky-tonk. All kinds of stores that had everything: knives, transistor radio, binoculars, cameras, you name it. Okay. Because of the rough winter we had, also in the Mid-East, they asked my mother, where do you want to go? Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Why? Okay. Okay. We did go see her sister, but her sister passed away, so we came to the funeral, more or less. But we were stuck in that hotel. We had 2 meals a day, breakfast and dinner. Mm-hmm. No money, okay? Right. For breakfast, I always had whatever they had, but I always had to have a grapefruit, and for dessert, for dinner, always had a grapefruit, sugar on it. Now, meanwhile, some of the other kids, teenagers, there in the hotel said, hey, did you register for the Catskill? What's the Catskill? Oh, you get a job for the summer, then you make lots of money. You get tips, you make maybe $200 or $300 in tips for some. In those days, there was a lot of money, okay? Right. Well, I knew we're going to move, okay? And I said, no, I'm not going to do that and stay with my parents. Okay. Sure enough, the word comes that in May, you're going to move next Tuesday to Milwaukee, and here's a train ticket. But from January until May, I found myself a job because I wanted money. So I worked right down in Manhattan, one of these restaurant rows, 3 steps down to that
46th
basement.
Street, yeah.
Was a little shop that was making tie clips, aluminum plated at brass, polish it and sell it on the street for 50 cents. I made 30 cents an hour. Wow, I got somebody, okay? And then there's overtime. What is overtime? Well, you get more. What is? Well, that means you mean time and a half. That means how much you make? 30, you get another 15 cents. I want overtime, all the overtime I could get. By the time I'm ready to go to Milwaukee, my parents, I had about $40 in savings.
Okay.
I walked from 102nd and Broadway. I couldn't afford the nickel for the subway. I walked from 102nd and Broadway to Times Square looked at those windows, and I bought my first camera. Now I got my third camera over $1,000 worth, like a
Wow.
Nikon. Okay.
You love taking pictures.
And that
Right.
goes back to in my
Yep.
youth with the slideshow I used to
Absolutely.
put on. So that's actually the story, okay?
So when you got to Milwaukee, and you were in high school, and then it got
oh
interrupted
yeah,
because you had to go to Korea,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. I'll get to Milwaukee. You have to wait 5 years to become a citizen. I don't know what you have to do now, but then that was it. You get your first paper, and 5
Right.
years later you become citizen. Now, when I enter high school, I could not show proof of elementary school that I went to, so I had to do 1 year, 8th grade completion course for New Americans. Barely passed the course. Probably got
Right.
a D. Couldn't speak English or read English or write English.
Right.
Okay, but now at least that gets me to the high school, and Mom says you got to go to school. But Mom, 18, kids graduate 18. No, you go to school. Okay, how long? You need credits. What are credits, Mom? How many credits do you need?
Right.
I took German 1, a German 2, cooking, whatever's an easy credit. Okay. I remember the book I read in German. Die drei weise Männer, the three wise men. I understood everything in the book. I flunked German because I had to write an essay in English.
Ah.
Okay?
Okay.
When you enter high school to this day, you sign a piece of paper, something called the Selective Service Commission. Still in place.
Right.
When North Korea, the grandfather of the guy there now, attacked South Korea, I was drafted out of high school, ended in Fort Sheridan, Illinois, where I was inducted into military service, ended up in Camp Polk, Louisiana, went overseas to Hokkaido, Japan for advanced combat training. I'm in Company C, first platoon, and I'm a machine gunner. When I got in a rifle company, he's the new kid on the block. Let's give him the 30 caliber machine gun. The rest of the guys in the platoon one guy in the platoon got a machine gun. The rest of the guys all got M1 rifles, okay? I go to and then you had to go in Japan going on a forced march. A forced march means running 20 miles with a machine gun. I went to see my commanding officer. I said, sir, I knew the answer he was going to give me. He said, sir, I don't belong here. I speak German. I could be over in Germany, translate, that sort of thing. And says, no, you belong here. Again, he did something that only recently, so my God, I was saved even there, okay? I was out of the rifle company, ended up in regimental headquarters, became a radio operator, Morse code. Mile and a half behind the front, behind the foxhole. We're on the truck relaying their walkie-talkies to the regiment headquarters for artillery support,
Right.
okay? So I finished my high school in that truck.
Okay.
I graduated.
And when you came back from Korea, you went to the University of Wisconsin.
University of Wisconsin, studied electrical engineering, and that landed a job with AT&T, hired in Milwaukee on a blind ad in the Milwaukee Journal that I answered, and I worked there for 40 years. It brought
Very
me out
nice.
first to Chicago and advanced there and into engineering, and I came out to Bedminster in New Jersey, and got into personnel, which now it's called HR, became in charge of job ads and worked some computer programming and that sort of thing.
And you
then
you got married.
I got
and two
married. I got
children?
married in 1953.
Okay.
Okay, and I got a son. I got a daughter first, and I got a son,
Right.
and
You have 4 grandchildren, right?
I got 4 grandchildren. My daughter got married, and she got 3 children, but their last name is Nakbar. Mine is Heyman. My son got a son, my grandson, and that's the new Heyman, but he's not interested in my story, okay?
Not yet. Okay.
No, not yet, I hope, okay?
And I know you've-
now also my granddaughter, my first granddaughter, got married, and now I'm got a great grandson.
And I know you've engaged in a lot of programs. You've worked with the Greater Metro West program, the Holocaust Advisory Committee. You have given many speeches to more than 55,000 listeners. But tell us a little bit about the Twin with a Survivor Mitzvah program that you engaged in the short time that we have.
Twin of the bar mitzvah, when a kid to be bar or bar mitzvah, he needs to do something for the Old Testament. The rabbi can't ask for it. He can walk a dog or help a person or something like that. But there's a program. Twin was a survivor. I share my story with him or her, and they share their bar and bar mitzvah. I was never bar mitzvahed. But now I've been bar mitzvah 63 times and bar mitzvah, okay? Very nice program. But as long as I got a few more minutes, 2 minutes,
Yep.
I lived for 12 years in Germany. That's how long the Holocaust lasted. Any place else started 6 years when World War II broke out, okay? If you lived in Germany, you got the entire 12 years. So for 12 years, I've got very well acquainted with the H word, okay? H is spelled H-A-T-E, the opposite from love. And that's the lesson the Holocaust, I think, is teaching us. Something is happening here, got to do something about it, okay? And I make a lot of presentation on that. They call me Fred Heyman, the upstander, because it's saying that good people stood by and let bad things happen. All right. I don't wish to be a bystander. I wish to be an upstander, do something about it. It's not to walk down the street and demonstrate. That's a protester. Right. Upstander is what you're doing right now. Do something good to make the world better, okay? Right. Help a dog, rescue a dog that falls in water and can swim. That's an upstander. Anyhow, I go into schools, so lots of them, and says, you all got iPhones, Androids, smartphones. You have apps on that, APPS, apps. Apps is short for application, okay? One app you are not allowed to use. Mm-hmm. It's spelled H space A space T space E space. Okay? If you pronounce it, you must do the same thing. Okay, Google. What can that do for you? Because it registers right here what HATE stands for. It's like a smoker. Every time you light another cigarette, you reinforce the habit. Okay?
Right.
I wish to be an upstander, and I put that out because a lot of HATE is going on. A kid does not have to like broccoli. That's okay, but cannot say HAT broccoli.
Right.
And the same thing goes through with the president. I don't care who you vote for, but not HATE. And we got to stop that. Otherwise, we have more bad things happening in the world.
Yes, we do. And I want to thank you so much, Fred, for telling your story to everyone out there, our audience, and hopefully educating them about what went on during the Holocaust years. And not only that, but I also want to thank you for your service to the U.S. military as a veteran of the Korean War, and your service to this country and everything that you've done during your lifetime to make things better for people and to educate them, inform them, and to be an upstander during the course of your life. And it's been my pleasure having you on this show.
Thank you for having had me, and I enjoyed this. Okay.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Fred Heyman, Holocaust survivor and U.S. veteran, with his story over 3 episodes. Hopefully, if you missed one, you'll go back and catch the other 2. Until that time, and we hope that you enjoy the new year, and as this will be going into the new year, I wish you all a very happy and healthy New Year. I'm Lou Goldstein. Have a good night for Focus On. Thank you.
Every day, don't say. Born